Did you know that a simple mistake made first thing in the morning could be tripling your risk of developing diabetes after age 60, even if you feel healthy now? It's a strong statement, I know, and perhaps counterintuitive for many, but it's a truth that I, as a doctor who has been caring for the pancreas for decades, see repeated in my practice. Today, I want to warn you about this morning mistake that triples your risk of diabetes after age 60. And when I say triples your risk, I'm talking about a silent threat that, if left unchecked, can lead to a diagnosis of type 2 diabetes, with all the complications and suffering that come with it, robbing you of your independence and quality of life. I know that the word diabetes carries a lot of weight, a fear of daily injections, of having to count every bite, of dietary restrictions that take away the pleasure of eating, of loss of freedom, and in the worst-case scenario, of serious problems such as vision loss that prevents you from reading or recognizing faces, kidney failure that ties you to dialysis machines, heart disease that threatens your life with every beat, or neuropathy that causes excruciating pain and loss of sensation, compromising your mobility and even leading to amputations. I see this apprehension in the eyes of every patient who comes to me, their voices breaking as they talk about their fears for the future, about the uncertainty of tomorrow. They tell me stories of grandparents who lost their sight, of parents who needed dialysis, and the dread of repeating these fates is real, palpable in each person who sits in front of me. But what if I told you that the key to avoiding this reality, to protecting your future and the well-being of your loved ones, could lie in something you do or don't do in the early hours of your day before you even leave home? Many of my older patients, before coming to my office, had been making this morning mistake for years, some for their entire adult lives, with no idea of the devastating impact it was having on their pancreas and metabolism. I remember Mrs. Helena, a 68-year-old woman full of apparent vitality and an easy smile, but with a strong family history of diabetes. She prided herself on a breakfast she considered complete and traditional: fresh white bread with margarine and jam, accompanied by a large glass of concentrated orange juice. She was making exactly this mistake, and to her surprise and concern, her routine tests began to show worrying signs of prediabetes, with sugar spikes that left her exhausted and feeling mentally foggy shortly after her first meal of the day. Or Mr. Pedro, 72, a retired executive who had always taken care of his health with regular walks and a balanced diet for lunch and dinner. However, he couldn't give up his sugary breakfast cereal with milk and a slice of homemade cake, thinking it was a harmless little indulgence. He felt frustrated, not understanding why his efforts in other areas weren't enough to control his blood sugar and why fatigue seemed to be a constant companion. The truth is that your pancreas is an incredible organ, a true jewel of your endocrine system, a conductor of your metabolic health, but it needs to be treated with love, intelligence, and special care as we age. It is responsible for producing insulin, the hormone that removes sugar from the blood and takes it to the cells, where it is used as energy or stored. But if you overload it early on, abruptly and repeatedly, it begins to fail, exhausting its productive capacity, and that's when the risk of diabetes skyrockets, compromising not only your daily energy, but your entire future. Stay with me until the end, because I'm going to explain in detail what this morning mistake is, why it's so harmful to your pancreas after age 60, what the long-term consequences are for your health, and most importantly, how you can correct it simply and effectively to protect your health, reverse the risk, and ensure a long, active, and fulfilling life, enjoying every moment with renewed vitality. Get ready for a discovery that could change the course of your health forever and free you from unnecessary worries. As a pancreas doctor, my main job is not just to diagnose and treat, but above all to understand the delicate workings of this vital organ and how it relates to your entire metabolism, from the tips of your fingers to the health of your heart. For me, the pancreas is like the body's power plant, with two vital and intrinsically linked functions. First, it produces digestive enzymes that help break down and absorb the food you eat, ensuring that you get the most nutrients. But for our purposes today, the most crucial function that directly impacts your risk of diabetes is the second one: producing hormones, primarily insulin and glucagon, which work in perfect balance to regulate blood sugar, keeping it within a healthy range. Imagine your pancreas as a strict but fair guardian of your body. It is always keeping an eye on the sugar, glucose levels in your bloodstream, monitoring every fluctuation. When sugar rises too high, say after a carbohydrate-rich meal, the guardian, your pancreas, quickly releases the master key, insulin, to open the doors of your cells. This allows sugar to enter the cells, leaving the bloodstream, and be used as immediate energy or stored for later use. When everything works well, your sugar levels remain balanced without major spikes or drops, and your body operates harmoniously. However, as the years go by, especially after age 60, the pancreas, like other organs and systems in the body, begins to show signs of fatigue or reduced efficiency. The beta cells, responsible for producing insulin within the pancreas, may not be as agile, numerous, or effective as they once were. In addition, your body's own cells may develop what we call insulin resistance. This means that even with insulin present in the bloodstream, the cell doors do not open as easily for sugar. It's as if the lock is a little rusty or damaged, and the gatekeeper, the pancreas, has to work much harder, producing an excessive amount of keys to push and try to open the door and let the sugar in. And this is where the morning mistake I mentioned comes in dramatically. Consuming a large amount of refined carbohydrates and fast-absorbing sugars in the early hours of the day, without the necessary compensatory presence of protein, healthy fats, and fiber. Think of your body as a high-performance car. When you wake up after a long period of fasting during the night, your metabolism is in a state of relative calm and insulin sensitivity. If you throw a huge load of sugar and fast-absorbing carbohydrates into your system right away, such as sugary cereals full of corn syrup, fluffy white bread with margarine and jam that melts in your mouth, accompanied by a large glass of concentrated fruit juice or cakes and filled cookies, it's like stepping on the gas pedal of a car that has just been started, still cold, throwing a huge and unnecessary load of rotation into the engine. This causes a sudden, explosive, and intense spike in blood glucose, a veritable sugar rush. Your pancreas, already tired after age 60 and perhaps facing some initial insulin resistance, is forced into a massive and sudden production of insulin to try to deal with this flood of sugar. It works in emergency mode, in a race against time to lower the glucose flooding the bloodstream. Doing this repeatedly, morning after morning, for years, for decades, is like demanding that a musician play a very high, loud note repeatedly, without rest, at the limit of their ability. Over time, this constant and excessive demand exhausts the pancreas. The beta cells, which produce insulin, wear out, lose their ability to produce insulin efficiently and in sufficient quantities, and insulin resistance worsens, creating a vicious cycle of uncontrolled blood sugar levels, rapidly paving the way for a diagnosis of type 2 diabetes. A study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition demonstrated, with quantifiable data, that eating a high glycemic breakfast, rich in refined carbohydrates, is associated with significantly higher and longer-lasting glucose and insulin spikes in older adults. This pattern of constant spikes can accelerate beta cell dysfunction and progression to diabetes by up to 3 times, corroborating the tripling I mentioned. It's a vicious and dangerous cycle. The more the pancreas is overworked, the more resistant the body becomes to existing insulin, and the more insulin is needed, leading to the eventual exhaustion of the producing cells. If this revelation about the morning mistake and the crucial role of your pancreas has made you reflect on your own choices, if this information has given you a new perspective and insight into what may be happening in your body, please like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our upcoming content. Your health and the health of your loved ones will thank you, and I want to continue helping you navigate this path of health, vitality, and well-being with clear, empathetic, and science-based information. The impact of this morning mistake, the excessive and unbalanced intake of refined carbohydrates and sugars early in the day, goes far beyond a simple one-time overload of the pancreas. It triggers a series of chain reactions, a veritable cascade of events that, over time, contribute decisively to the development and acceleration of the most feared complications of diabetes, especially in people over 60, whose bodies already have less metabolic resilience and greater vulnerability. First, these abrupt and prolonged morning spikes in sugar and insulin promote chronic low-grade inflammation. Imagine inflammation as a slow fire, invisible to the naked eye, but constantly active inside your body, corroding your tissues and cells. When you consume foods that quickly raise glucose, it's like throwing gasoline on that internal fire, intensifying it. This constant, uncontrolled inflammation damages cells throughout the body, including the cells lining your blood vessels, from the large arteries to the microscopic capillaries. Damaged blood vessels are the primary pathway for all complications of diabetes. Think of them as the pipes in a house, responsible for carrying clean water and nutrients to every room. If the water running through them is dirty, with impurities, high sugar and inflammatory substances, and corrosive, the pipes will rust, clog, and eventually break more quickly. This leads to a dramatic increase in the risk of cardiovascular disease, heart attacks, strokes, and uncontrolled high blood pressure. Diabetes is already one of the biggest risk factors for heart disease, doubling the likelihood of cardiovascular events, and these morning spikes further intensify this threat, wearing out the heart and arteries prematurely. Diabetic neuropathy, progressive nerve damage that can cause debilitating symptoms, such as persistent tingling, numbness, burning pain, muscle weakness, and even loss of sensation, especially in the hands and feet. Many patients report the distress of feeling constant pins and needles or shocks, or the inability to feel a wound on their foot, which dramatically increases the risk of ulcers and amputations. Diabetic nephropathy, gradual silent damage to the small blood vessels in the kidneys, which are responsible for filtering the blood. Over time, the kidneys lose their ability to properly filter toxins from the body, leading to kidney failure and the dreaded need for dialysis, a treatment that drastically changes one's life. Diabetic retinopathy, damage to the small, delicate blood vessels in the retina, the part of the eye responsible for sending images to the brain and consequently for your vision. If left unchecked, this condition can progress and lead to irreversible blindness, robbing you of your ability to see the world, read, drive, and recognize your loved ones. Second, these sugar spikes and the resulting insulin overload contribute significantly to weight gain and the accumulation of visceral fat. Insulin is an anabolic hormone, which means that in addition to lowering sugar, it also signals the body to store energy. And the preferred form of energy storage is in the form of fat, especially the fat that lodges around the organs in the abdominal region, visceral fat, which is the most dangerous. When your pancreas repeatedly produces large amounts of insulin to deal with morning spikes, your body becomes more prone to accumulating this abdominal fat. This fat is not inert. It is metabolically active and produces its own inflammatory substances, pro-inflammatory cytokines, that further aggravate insulin resistance, creating a vicious and dangerous cycle of inflammation and fat accumulation. It's like a negative feedback loop that only worsens the situation of your metabolism and your pancreas. Mrs. Laura, a 70-year-old retired teacher, came to my office complaining of extreme fatigue right after breakfast, uncomfortable numbness in her feet that worried her, and unexplained weight gain in her belly, even though she said she ate very little at other meals. She had a habit of eating white bread with cream cheese and coffee with lots of sugar every morning. When we explained to her about the pancreas response to this type of carbohydrate and its direct impact on systemic inflammation and visceral fat accumulation, she was shocked to realize the connection between what she ate and her symptoms. By switching to a protein and fiber-rich breakfast, such as eggs with vegetables and a small portion of red fruits, she noticed a dramatic improvement in her energy. The numbness decreased considerably, and she began to lose weight in her belly naturally and effortlessly. The frustration and discouragement she felt before turned into hope and motivation to continue taking care of her health. And for those of you listening, I want to ask a question that helps me understand your reality and the reality of so many others. What is your biggest challenge when trying to change your eating habits, especially at breakfast? Is it a lack of ideas for new options? A lack of time to prepare something different? A preference for specific foods that you have been eating for years? Or the difficulty of breaking old habits? Leave your answer in the comments. I read each one, and it helps me immensely to create content that really makes a difference for you and our community by addressing the real challenges you face. Now that you understand the depth and severity of this morning mistake and the systemic impact it has on your pancreas, your metabolism, and your overall health, especially after age 60, the question that naturally arises is, how can we correct it effectively and sustainably? The good news is that the solution is not complex, does not require fad diets or impossible sacrifices, but it does require a shift in perspective and some intentional and consistent choices. The goal is to transform your breakfast from a shock to your pancreas into a gentle and protective start for your entire system. The key to protecting your pancreas, stabilizing your blood sugar, and ensuring you have lasting energy first thing in the morning is to start your day with a breakfast that prioritizes high-quality protein, healthy fats, and fiber, and is significantly low in refined carbohydrates and sugars. Think of it as giving your metabolism a soft start, fueling it with the right nutrients so it can function in a balanced way without being overloaded. Here is a practical and detailed guide with clear suggestions and examples that you can start applying today, adapting them to your reality, your tastes, and those of the person you care for. 1. The star of the morning. Protein. Protein is the most important nutrient for your breakfast. It has a minimal impact on blood sugar, promotes lasting satiety, which prevents excessive hunger before lunch, and helps keep your muscle furnaces active by effectively regulating insulin response. Eggs. They are champions of versatility and nutritional value. Boiled, scrambled in an omelet, or poached. 2 to 3 eggs for breakfast are an excellent choice. You can enrich your omelet by adding chopped vegetables, such as spinach, tomatoes, onions, peppers, or a little cottage cheese or feta cheese. Plain unsweetened yogurt. Choose yogurt without added sugar, rich in protein and probiotics, which are great for gut health, which indirectly impacts blood sugar. Be careful not to choose yogurt with added fruit and sugar, which are traps for your pancreas. If you want flavor, add some fresh berries. Low-fat or cottage cheese, slow-digesting protein sources that help you feel full. A handful of nuts, almonds, walnuts, chestnuts. These are excellent sources of protein, healthy fats, and fiber. They can be eaten alone or added to yogurt. Protein powder, whey protein, vegetable protein. For those who have difficulty reaching their protein goal or are looking for convenience, a shake with protein powder, no added sugar, and water or unsweetened plant-based milk is a great alternative. The silent and powerful allies, fiber and healthy fats. Fiber, found in vegetables, whole fruits, and some seeds, is essential because it slows down sugar absorption, preventing spikes. Healthy fats also contribute to satiety, provide more stable energy, and have minimal impact on glucose. Vegetables. Make vegetables part of your breakfast. Add spinach, tomatoes, mushrooms, peppers, and chopped zucchini to your omelet, scrambled eggs, or even a green smoothie. They are incredible sources of vitamins, minerals, and, of course, fiber. Low glycemic index fruits, berries, strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, avocados. Eat them in moderation and always in their whole form, with the skin, if applicable, to get the most out of the fiber. Fiber creates a safety net that slows down the absorption of fructose. Seeds, chia, flaxseed, pumpkin, or sunflower seeds. They can be easily added to your yogurt, protein shake, or even sprinkled on scrambled eggs. They are rich in soluble and insoluble fiber and good fats, omega-3, 6, 9. Avocado, an excellent source of healthy fats. It can be eaten plain, mashed with eggs, or in smoothies to add creaminess and nutrients. Extra virgin olive oil. A drizzle of olive oil on eggs or vegetables adds good fats and flavor. What to drastically reduce or avoid, especially for breakfast. White bread, cakes, cookies, refined toast, croissants, donuts. These are sugar bombs disguised as food. Replace with real whole grain breads. Read the label carefully. The first ingredient should be whole grain flour, not enriched flour. Dense rye bread, or, in small portions, root vegetables such as sweet potatoes, cassava, or yams, which have a lower glycemic index. Sugary breakfast cereals. These are the epitome of a morning mistake. Even those labeled healthy or whole grain are often loaded with sugar and additives. Opt for rolled oats, in moderation and always accompanied by protein and fats to modulate glucose, or real cereals, without sugar and without excessive processing. Fruit juices, even natural and no added sugar juices. These concentrate the sugar from fruit, fructose, without the protective fiber. Choose whole fruit in controlled portions and chew well. Sugar and artificial sweeteners. Get used to drinking sugar-free beverages. If you need to sweeten, use small amounts of natural sweeteners, such as pure stevia or xylitol, but with the goal of gradually weaning your taste buds off excessive sweetness. I remember Mr. João, a 65-year-old retiree who loved his classic breakfast, warm French bread with butter, coffee with milk, and lots of sugar. He felt terribly sluggish and energy blackout shortly thereafter. I suggested that he replace the bread with scrambled eggs with spinach and a piece of avocado, and the coffee with milk with unsweetened herbal tea. He resisted at first, thinking it would be difficult, but after a week, he called me enthusiastically, his voice full of energy. "Doctor, it's like I've got a new battery. My sugar levels aren't spiking anymore, and I feel an energy I haven't felt in years without that sluggishness after eating." The change in his breakfast was the turning point for him, a small adjustment that opened the door to a transformation in his entire day. For those seeking a healthier, more controlled life with more vitality, these changes in breakfast are one of the most important pillars. However, I know that modern life is busy, that maintaining discipline and creativity can be challenging, and that applying all of this consistently day after day can seem like a Herculean task. Many people ask me, "Doctor, I understand the theory perfectly, but in practice, how do I maintain this every day, especially if I live alone or don't have time to cook elaborate meals?" Isn't there an easier plan to follow with ready-made recipes, clear guidelines, and support for the whole day, not just for breakfast? It's a legitimate question, and that's where the search for a more comprehensive and integrated solution becomes not only desirable, but essential for long-term success. As a doctor, my greatest satisfaction comes from seeing my patients not only managing their disease, but thriving, living with more energy, more freedom, and a full quality of life, enjoying every moment with their family and friends. Over the years, I have realized that theory is important, information is the foundation, but practical application is what really transforms lives, what moves the needle toward health. That's why, after explaining in detail the devastating morning mistake and the scientific strategies to correct it and protect the pancreas, many patients ask me the same question, with a mixture of hope and concern. "Doctor, I understand everything about the pancreas, insulin, carbohydrates, proteins. It's very clear. But for me, with my busy lifestyle, or for an elderly person who needs more simplicity and fewer complications, how do I put all this into practice consistently, day after day, week after week?" There is no roadmap, no clear guide that tells me what to do at every meal, how to combine foods optimally, and that gives me the confidence that I am on the right track without having to come to the office every week or become an expert in nutrition. This convenience gap, this barrier between knowledge and action, is a real and significant obstacle for most people. They understand the problem, they want the solution, and they want to be healthy, but they feel lost when it comes to translating scientific information into concrete daily actions, into habits that fit into their lives. This is where recommending a more comprehensive, integrated, and practical solution becomes not only useful but absolutely vital for long-term success in diabetes management. That's why I feel confident and certain that I'm recommending the best path, a tested and proven path, when I suggest that you explore the protocol available at the link in the description and in the first pinned comment of this video. This material is not just any suggestion. It is the logical and definitive answer for those seeking an easier, safer, and more effective way to apply the principles we have discussed here. It will guide you not only at breakfast but in all your meals and habits, positively impacting your entire lifestyle. This protocol is not a generic recipe book or a simplistic list of forbidden foods. It is an integrated, comprehensive, and scientifically validated solution, built on the same principles that I have been advocating and applying for decades in my practice, with proven results in hundreds of patients. It was developed to be your complete guide, addressing the fundamental pillars for diabetes control and metabolic health, especially relevant for those seeking to protect their pancreas and body after age 60. Focus on quality and nutritional balance. The protocol goes far beyond counting calories. It provides clear and detailed guidance on choosing whole foods, nutrient-dense foods, and foods with a low glycemic impact. It teaches you to prioritize high biological value proteins, healthy fats, such as those found in avocados, olive oil, and nuts, and fiber from a variety of sources, vegetables, seeds, exactly what your pancreas and your entire metabolism need to function optimally and efficiently without unnecessary overload or spikes, reducing inflammation and insulin resistance. Holistic approach to health. The protocol understands, as I do, that diabetes is not just an isolated sugar disease, but a complex metabolic condition that affects the body as a whole. Therefore, it is not limited to diet. It integrates the importance of regular exercise, with suggestions tailored to different levels of mobility and age, effective stress management, which has been proven to affect blood sugar, quality sleep, essential for hormone regulation, and other lifestyle factors that are crucial and interconnected for blood sugar control, complication prevention, and overall well-being. Practical, simplified, and accessible guide. The great advantage and strength of this protocol lies in its practicality. It transforms complex scientific information into a clear, step-by-step action plan with menu suggestions, easy-to-prepare meal ideas, and guidance on how to put together your plate correctly and appetizingly, without complications or the need for complex calculations. It is designed to be a roadmap, a tool that removes uncertainty and puts you in control, saving you time and energy and avoiding the risk of common mistakes that can compromise your progress. It is literally a specialized guide in the palm of your hand. Think of this protocol as an extension of my office in your home, available at any time. It is my personal recommendation as a specialist who has seen the transformative results in hundreds of patients who have followed these same principles. It represents a reliable and safe shortcut for you to achieve control of your diabetes, protect your pancreas for decades to come, and ensure a long, active, and worry-free life, enjoying every moment to the fullest and in good health. Remember, a diagnosis of diabetes or an increased risk after age 60 does not have to be a sentence of deprivation, fear, or decline. On the contrary, it can be the starting point for a profound transformation in your health and quality of life, an opportunity to feel better than ever before. You have the power to change this reality, to reverse conditions, to avoid complications, and to have a much higher quality of life than you may imagine right now. If this video has clarified the morning mistake and made you see the possibility of a healthier and more promising future, I invite you, from the bottom of my heart, to take the next step. Subscribe to the channel so we can continue this journey together, always bringing you the most relevant, practical, and scientifically based information. And please share this video with your loved ones, friends, or family members who may also be struggling with diabetes, prediabetes, or caring for elderly people with the disease. Accurate information, awareness, and informed action are powerful tools that can literally save lives, transform realities, and build a healthier and happier future for everyone. Your health and well-being are your most precious assets, and I am here to support you every step of the way as your doctor and trusted guide.